Welcome to Interview with a Lockpicker, brought to you by Broke Picks. Prepare for a deep dive into the world of locks.
Are at Into the Shadows with Lord Kodiak here. He decided to stay and hang out with me for a little bit. Let's get into it. You made a coin. What is your how do I put it? What is your background that in work and life and things like that you got this talent for? I just sent you a picture of my logo, and next thing I know, I wish I had it here. I'm not at home at the moment, but it turned out beautiful. So you can pick and the coins, and you mentioned you drove truck and stuff, and which is another one of my fascinations. I always wanted to be a truck driver. I always wanted a Peterbilt. I always, but
Well, I had a KW, a W9. You know the saying, there's nothing finer than a W9er. But my brother from another mother, he had a Pete 379. That was his deal. Mine was a KW. But yeah, that was a past life of mine. I spent 13 years out over the road, long haul. I started out pulling a reefer and then went to a drive-in, and then bought me a 53-foot step deck with my own truck, and I did that for quite a long time. It's just not the same out there anymore. I came off the road in 2010, and I started this job here. Now I do geophysical work for many different sectors, everything from DOD to oil and gas. I mean, everything in between. But as far as with the challenge coin that I made you with the laser, that was just one of those things that fascinated me. I started out with 3D print. I had ordered a 3D printer, and it was a pre-order. And while I had to wait for that thing to finally ship, in research with all the groups, a lot of people hand in hand had lasers as well. So I went out and bought a diode laser, a 5-watt diode laser. That was cool. What I could do with that was amazing, but slow as could be. 5 watts is just not very powerful.
yeah.
A lot of wasted wood trying to cut through thin wood. So then they came out with a 10-watt laser. I got that. Now I've already invested heavily into it. Still haven't got the 3D printer at that time. That finally came in. Then, like everything, you see greater, bigger, better. And I was like, hey, I can get a 100-watt CO2 laser, and I can do all this other stuff. Tell the wife, hey, I'm gonna drop another $5,000 on all this stuff, and then she wasn't too pleased with that idea, but
No?
I did it anyways. It's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. You know how that goes.
But words straight from my mouth.
Yeah, and after a couple of years of that, I sold a lot of things, and then I started seeing things about fiber lasers, how they can ablate metal, and you can do neat things with metal. You can color metal with the frequency change. So I invested in a 60-watt JPT MOPA fiber laser, so I can cut steel, brass, gold. I can just totally ablate any and all metals, including titanium. Titanium takes longer, but I can do it. And then the colors, you can pretty much give every color in a rainbow you can put on the metal with it. I haven't practiced a lot with the colors. It's something I plan on doing. I just haven't done it yet, so I don't advertise it.
Yeah.
But it's really cool what you can do with it. The challenge coins for the brass, that's something I really enjoy doing. It's cool to see how it digs it out of the coin.
Yeah.
I went too deep a few times and went clear through the coin. But whoops, you hear a different noise. It's like, oh crap, run down there real fast and stop it before it destroys the bottom of the bed. But I've always enjoyed working with my hands. When I was in my youth, I was a a framer, a carpenter down in Florida. So I enjoy seeing what I can create with my hands, and it just falls right in line creating stuff. It's something I like.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are like that. Uh, there's so many of us that have such a talent with, hands-on things. Like I was discussing with you earlier, I'm good with the hands-on things, but the computer programs, because I can't physically touch it, hold it, pull it apart in my mind, it just it doesn't click with me, and it's fascinating to me seeing people who can do that and that, because that's just not. And it's probably because I didn't hone it. That I'm in that age group of, we were in school in the 80s and 90s, and I remember the first computer our school got. They rolled it around with, like they had like CIA security with it. It's like you can touch it and play. What is that game? Um, Oregon Trail for 5 minutes, and then the next
Yep.
person. And
Yeah.
I
Big
think it's
giant one piece computer.
yeah. You put cassette tapes
Yeah,
in
I
and
remember
stuff.
those days.
Yeah. So you were either into them or you weren't.
Right.
And I just wasn't. I couldn't. It's like they weren't like they are now. You had to type in code. It's like \\C //,
Right.
and it bored me. So I didn't pick up those
Same.
skills. I was always
I had more
working.
fun things to do, like be destructive somewhere.
Yeah, go blow something up, light something on fire. God knows what else.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But yeah, the computers back then, they like I said, you had to type in a bunch of stuff and commands to do anything, and it just could not keep my interest at all. I have attention span of a gnat, and it doesn't help. So it's either instant gratification when it comes to that kind of stuff, or I get lost real fast. My mind wanders.
me
Even if
too.
I'm talking to people, you see, I'm outside, and the reason why I did that is because I have a habit. I can have a conversation with somebody, and I'll listen to two other people talking at the same time, not being nosy, just my ear focuses in on it.
Me
So
too.
I came outside just to get away from everything.
And I'm the same way, man. Something sparkly. I'm listening, like we discussed earlier. Believe it or not, I don't. When we're out in public and stuff, I don't talk. I'm listening. I'm watching. I'm you know checking what people's got in their pockets, and you know listening to conversations, and I'm just very standoffish, and so I get it. Yeah, we can have a conversation, and I'm still listening to what's going on over here.
Exactly.
Were you ever in the military at
Exactly.
all?
No, through high school, I went through the ROTC program, and I was in the drill team with that. And I really enjoyed the program. I stayed in it for a few years. Uh, I tried to enlist in the Army during Desert Storm, uh, and due to other reasons, they wouldn't let me in, which I was kind of heartbroken. I wanted to be a Marine for that. Um, so I never actually made it into the military, but I'm very, very patriotic. People who know me know just how patriotic I am. I love my country. Um, but no, I never made it. But I respect all the veterans for the time that they've served, regardless if it was active duty in a war or in theater or not. It doesn't matter. Somebody enlisted for the right reasons, I'm all for it.
Yeah, me too. I totally agree with that. I wanted to be a Marine too, and I got into some trouble, and I had the opportunity to go, and they kind of gave me a choice because I was in that. Well, you're not 18 yet, but you will be in a couple months. Do you want to go to jail or do you want to go to the military? And they sent somebody in screaming at me. I said, I'll go to jail like an idiot. And I went to jail. And then when uh 9/11 happened, I was just on the edge of the age group that I could still enlist. I had like 2 months and I could still enlist, you know. And I went in there and
Yeah.
they turned me down. They're like, nope. And it it broke my heart. And all my friends throughout my adult life, I only most of them all that I can think of were ex-military, and it was something I really wanted to do, and I think it would have been good for me, but you know, I probably wouldn't have been such a fuck up.
Same.
And obviously, with the my obsessive compulsive about lock picking and World War II and uh, tanks and now drones and every other thing I get obsessed with under the sun, I've always been absolutely 110% completely engulfed in World War II stuff. And I really wanted to be in the military. So,
Yeah, I've always had a thing about good war movies and books. I don't read much anymore because again my attention span can't. I have a hard time. That and my eyesight sucks anymore, which takes away all enjoyment of that. But uh, a lot of the good, great older war movies, not so political. I really enjoyed those.
yeah.
A lot of the documentary series on at the time it was VHS. Now they're on DVD, but uh, some of them, of World War II and World War One, and I'm talking about 60 hours worth of
Oh, I've watched them all
you know,
twice.
yeah, and some of them are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's amazing what has happened over there.
Yeah. And then I think it might come from, my parents were Vietnam era, and like my dad was supposed to go to Vietnam, but uh, he made poor life choices as I did and was discharged from the military before getting over there. But maybe that was probably a good thing. I don't know, but I
I
probably
say everything happens for a reason.
yeah. But yeah, I totally lost where I was at. I'm sorry. I had a point, and
I
then
always talking war stuff.
yeah.
You asked me if I was in the military. We went there.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I've been trying to remember to ask everybody that comes on to see if they're in the military because I got this, and it's only in my mind, and I'm gonna forget. But I have this plan, that I'm trying to map out the psychological type of person that is a lock picker, and why I don't know. It's just I see so many we we're so much alike, and not just because of that we like lock picking. It's like, man, you can run into a lock picker anywhere and just start up a conversation, and you can go into talking about the military, um, laser cutting, you know com- computer hacking. It's all the stuff we're interested in, where I've noticed in other hobbies, like I was obviously I was really into motorcycles, but that and I really liked building race cars and trucks and jacked up trucks and stuff. Where in those kind of hobbies, you can have um, people that just are so totally polar opposite and like a jacked up truck or a race car or whatever, and you just have nothing in common with that person. But I just in this, it's like it's a different dynamic for me anyway. And I've got this thing where I'm putting people in columns and stuff like that because I'm trying to figure out what is
What
what.
there's a commonality there somewhere
Yeah,
that draws the same type of people. I understand that.
that's so much different than any other um, hobby or thing of interest I've ever seen. And I think it's pretty interesting. I think it's pretty interesting. There may be nothing to it. It may just be, but with that, what so you said you drove a truck for all them years over the road. What was it like you know, my family were truckers and bikers, and I always wanted to drive a truck. And then when I got in my accident and stuff, I tried to go get my CDL and stuff like that. I didn't want to. I guess I kind of didn't want to admit that I really couldn't keep a job anymore. At least not full time, and at that point, barely at all. But so I was going to go back and do truck driving. And my dad and my grandpa, before they died and stuff, they used to tell me all these crazy stories about chicken haulers and you know all kinds of stuff and these CBs. And I never got a chance to get into CBs and stuff. And I had just gotten a before I went and crashed and burned. I had just gotten this. What was it
Yeah.
called? A presidential, not president, president. It'll come to me in a minute. But what was it like? Because the what?
Was it a CB?
Yeah,
A president?
a president. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
was all excited about it. Had uh, the button on the back, and it was all yeah, it was jacked up, and I lost that. But so you're a little bit older than me, but you'd be like the generation of trucker and stuff after my dad and them, and my dad wasn't, but my grandpa and all them. What what was it like trucking around then? Compared to today.
Today, it's not the same today with electronic logs. The lack of true training. Uh, it's unreal how unskilled some of the drivers are now. Back when I was driving, they used to talk about new school drivers, just steering wheel holders. It's way worse now, but you could get away with a lot. You still had your rules you had to abide by for the most part, but with paper logs, if you knew how to use them, you could do a lot. And I had an advantage in that when I was younger, my mother used to work for a trucking company and she was a logbook auditor for the company. So I had a great understanding of logbooks and how to work around things. And I would consistently run way more miles and way more hours than what a solo driver is supposed to do. When I started driving a truck in my second company I worked for, that's the thing about trucking, you can job hop all you want. That's just part of the industry. Find more pay, more miles, go. And I never held down a job until this one I have now for more than 2 years. I think I had like 21 jobs in 6 years. I was terrible.
Yeah.
But I've been here now for 16 at this one. But once they found out that I could run 1,100, 1,200 miles straight consistently, I quickly became a favorite of the companies I worked for. The logbooks always looked correct. I never ran more than one logbook. I just ran loose leaf logs. And whenever I'd hit the end of my shift, I'd pull over in a truck stop and I'd get creative with my logs and pull the staples out of my books, ran loose leaf. I knew exactly what the laws were about how many logs I had to hand to an inspector. And he didn't need to look at all the other stuff that you'd done more than a week ago. That's where a book can get you in trouble. And once I ran out of time, I just redrew everything. I'd sit there. I went through 4 or 5 logbooks a month of paper in 1 month just because I was always redrawing them. But when I turned them in to be audited, they always came out legal. They call them a comic book. That's what they were, comical, because that was not what I really did. The most miles I ever ran was 5,400 miles in 1 week, and the logbook was legal, or the log pages were legal when I turned them in. You can be very creative. Not now with electronic logs, though.
Yeah.
My first wife, I got a dispatch. I lived in South Florida at the time. South Florida is hard to get to as a truck driver, and a lot of companies won't hire you down there. But I was due to take time off. This is the week of Christmas. And dispatcher said, "Hey, we got a load picking up in Miami going to Fontana, California. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "I got to be back here by Christmas Eve." And they're like, "Well, we'll get you back." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. I have to be back by Christmas Eve." And I told my wife that, "Hey, I got a good run going out to LA and I'll be back." She's like, "If you don't get back by Christmas Eve, we're getting divorced."
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
"I'll be back," because there's no way you can get out to California and back in 5 days.
Oh,
I did. I got back in 4.5 days.
On a bike, though.
But so I was considered one of those outlaw truckers. I did it however I wanted to do it. And when I got my own truck and trailer, it was even worse. Laws didn't apply. They were merely suggestions. My truck would do triple digits, and it did it a lot. The old adage of, it's only illegal until you get caught. I should say it that way.
Yeah.
And I've done some stuff that was amazing. I've gotten by with. I've taken oversized loads into California over a weekend at night, which is a big no-no. And when I got down there, I needed to find a place to stay. So I found a trucking company. It had a drop lot, but it had a security guard. And I told that security guard that they just bought out my company, and I've been told I could park here for the week. So I sat there all weekend, ordered pizzas and everything else, and then 5 o'clock Monday morning, I left property. That way I wouldn't get caught.
Yeah.
Just things like that. It was a fun time. It was interesting. I've done a lot of things. Got caught a few times with some things. Did some road rage on a cop in Denver. Don't know how I walked away from that one. It was almost 5 o'clock on a Friday. It was starting to sleet. I was in the far left lane where you're not supposed to be in a truck. And this car in front of me just would not move out of the way. Lane to the right would come open, and he would not get out of the way. I'd get real close on his bumper, try to intimidate. I had teeth on my grill. I'll send you a picture later.
Nice.
Had teeth on my grill, everything else. And I kept running up on him, running up on him, and he brake checked me. I don't take too kindly to brake checking. This is my truck, my insurance. You do that again, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And I run up on him.
You win.
So I finally passed him in the right lane, got in front of him, and I hit my brakes on him. Then he turned his lights on and pulled me over.
Oh, shit.
Just my luck.
Oh, God.
Unmarked car. So he pulled me over and he asked me, he was like, "Was there any legal reason for what you just did to me?" And I'm like, "No." What do you do? Now at that time I'd already run like 800 miles. I was well in front of my logbook. My logbook said I was back here somewhere. And thank God he didn't ask for it. But he let me go with a warning. And then I made it over in Nebraska and then shut down for the day. But another story of the type of person I am, like I'm mischievous. Um, Over in DC, Labs 13 will know this route on Interstate 66. There's just west of Manassas, there's an old rest area that's closed down, and the DOT sometimes will set up that as a portable check station right there. Traffic was backed out onto the shoulder of the highway a mile down from the exit. Now, that just irritates the crap out of me. And they had these little construction type signs on the side of the road in the grass saying all trucks take next exit, way station. And I'm backed out on the shoulder. They're wasting my time. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to run off into the grass here. I'm light. I went completely in the grass, run over their signs, go back onto the shoulder. And as I was turning back onto the shoulder, I realized in my left mirror, I saw a car behind me. Not a good thing.
Oh, no.
As I got to the ramp, I noticed that they were just waving people through at this point. But the guy up there waving people through sure had his eyes locked on my truck. When I got up there, the car went around me. It was a DOT car. And the officer climbed up on my running boards and he's like, "Why'd you run over our signs back here?" "What signs?" "What do you do?"
Yeah,
I don't have an excuse. I was just being an asshole.
yeah.
And I was like, "What signs?" He's like, "Those signs you ran over back there. The officer behind you went for lunch, saw you do that." "I don't recall seeing any signs." "You swerved off the road to hit those signs." I was like, "I don't recall seeing. Are you calling me a liar?" "No, sir. I'm just saying you're mistaken. I don't recall seeing those signs." I got out of that without a ticket. I don't know how that happened either.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, at different times.
Yeah, it is. And what people don't realize, could you imagine kids getting into the industry now if they had had to do it by a map and you know, address across the country?
Yeah.
They couldn't do it.
Well, back in 2000 and 2001, I did a short stint. I trained about 13 teams. I was a company truck at that time. And it was amazing back then how many people couldn't read a map. Surprised me. I grew up reading a map. To me, a map was my entertainment when I was still crawling around on the floor. I studied maps. I was born to be a traveler. And
Yeah.
that's one thing with this job, it fit me just perfect was I was a traveler. And this goes out of town quite often. Right now I'm in North Dakota. I live in Virginia. And I'll be up here till November sometime.
Oh, really?
But uh, yeah, it just surprised me how many people can't read a map. And that was before GPSs were a huge thing.
Yeah.
Now everybody's got it on their phones and everything else. Back home where I live in Virginia, I live in the Appalachian region. So there's a lot of windy roads that trucks can't be on. They just can't navigate them. The curves are too windy and too sharp with hairpin turns. But you can always tell when one's watching the GPS because they're on roads that they're not going to get out the other end. And eventually you see a wrecker truck coming the other way.
Oh, geez. Yeah, it's
But yeah, their GPSs have ruined everything as far as reading a map.
and I think it's
I have the GPS in the truck and all the vehicles actually. I don't program them for anything. I merely use them just for speed, just to easy look up at the GPS, see how fast I'm going to keep myself out of trouble. That's all. Speed management.
yeah, if we had a solar flare and all the electronics
Mhm.
instantly 98% of this country would just be walking around in the street going, and it
Absolutely,
shocks
be
me.
lost.
Yep, absolutely
Be
lost.
lost. They'd be panicked.
Wouldn't know what to do, where to
It's an
go.
old parody joke. Old parody jokers, couple in an elevator gets stopped, power goes out, they're in the dark, one person panicking. A few hours later, the door is open, and it's a murder scene inside the elevator. Parts of the body's missing, blood everywhere, blood all over the one person still standing. Like, what happened? He's like, I had to eat. I was in there forever. It's like, you was only in there for 2 hours.
Right? Yeah,
But
I think about that all the time because my son, I had owned a window washing company and power washing and stuff like that. And um, when my son was old enough, I brought him along and stuff. And I used to tell him stories about when I had gotten out of jail and stuff. Uh, Probably 95, 96, somewhere in there. And I had gotten a job doing carpet cleaning. And so we would just get a piece of paper that had an address, you know? And I'd be like, we would have to figure out how to get there. We'd pull out the map, and be like, well, it's got to be
yeah,
between these two roads. And if you were lucky, you would get I lived between these two main roads, and you'd have to figure it out, and
yeah,
I was like, what are you going to do when you don't have your phone with you or whatever? He was just amazed
yeah.
that we could find addresses without that. And then all of a sudden you get a map quest, and then you just had a map with a dot on it,
Right. Now, when I drove in the beginning, you could get the city maps and county maps where they would show numbers on the roads to tell you which direction the addresses went. So that helped a lot. But you had to invest in a lot of different maps in these cities to do that. And then sometimes you get dispatched to drop off or pick up at a location, and you had an address, no phone number. You had the name of a business. A payphone is all you had. There was no cell phones.
Yeah.
And it's like, go find a payphone somewhere, and I dial 911. And as soon as they'd answer, is this an emergency? I'd say, no, it's not. I'm lost and I need help. And they would switch me over to dispatch. It's perfect. They know how to get cops everywhere. So that's why I would call them. And 911 was free.
Yeah.
And they'd switch me over, and they'd like, where are you at? And I tell them I'm in a semi, so I need to be able to have clearances for bridges and stuff, and I'm trying to find this location. They would give me accurate directions on how to get there. When I got to California, though, LA was not too happy about that whole idea. They kind of chewed me out on the phone for calling 911.
And
That
that
worked everywhere else.
that's crazy. I would tell my son and my daughter about, going to the movies, and then you would call the house and be like, call collect, and you go, the movie's done. We're going to be over at the Myers down the street. Meet us there in 10 minutes. Click,
Yeah. You'd have that 5 seconds to say what you want and hang up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
I remember those days.
it's a whole new world. I don't know that I'm equipped for it, but it gets to be a little much. But man, I've thoroughly enjoyed talking with you. Uh, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me on.
Um, I gotta shoot off. We need to do this again. Uh, I gotta run up and pick a lady friend of mine. Well, take her some stuff. They're messaging me, but yeah, thank you so much for coming on. And you guys, if you haven't checked out his YouTube channel, go ahead and check it out. And once again, we got another great lock picker. You can learn a lot from him, not just lock picking, lasers, trucking, all the stuff I'm fascinated with. But yeah,
Yeah, we got more we can talk about at a later date and time. If you want to do it again, that's fine. I'm up for it.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think things will calm down around here and things will calm down. I had to jump back in to take this over. I had some life changes and stuff, and I'm just getting back into it and way to jump back in both feet and doing this show. But I love every second of it, and thank you so much for coming on. And we will catch you later.
Later.
Did that thing shut off here? What is this?